Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 37. Yeshu's consciousness gradually became muddled and Yu Yan's voice seemed as if it was coming from far away. I also don't know what will happen. This was the first time Yu Yan had encountered such a situation. He anxiously said, "The doctor who prescribed me the medicine said that after an omega becomes pregnant, they shouldn't use any medicine that could suppress the pheromones. Otherwise, it may cause one's pheromones to go out of control and be harmful to the body. It's not like I can get pregnant, so of course I wouldn't ask for such details." He picked up the teacup beside him and poured the warm tea into the incense burner, extinguishing the incense in an instant. But it was too late. The room was already filled with the pheromone-suppressing incense. Moreover, Yeshu had been inside for at least 2 hours, which was enough time for the medicine to take effect. Yeshu was so warm that he almost couldn't breathe. His cheeks were boiling hot and had a slight redness to them. He slowly sat down by the table and arched his back, as if he wanted to curl himself up. Yu Yan wanted to quickly walk towards the window but Yeshu pulled him back. "What are you doing?" "Opening the window to let in some fresh air." Yu Yan looked even more anxious than him. "We should let some of the incense disperse from the room." Yeshu firmly said, "No." The faint fragrance of plum flowers began to spread in the room. Yeshu's voice was weak but clear, "If you open the window now, the entire building will notice my situation. How will you explain it then? If you want to keep hiding your identity as an omega, my reputation would be ruined, or would you expose that you are an omega to preserve my reputation?" An imperial concubine had become like this in another man's room. Even if they really didn't do anything, it wouldn't be easy to explain things clearly. Yu Yan quickly figured this out and forced himself to calm down. "Then what should we do now?" Without waiting for Yeshu to answer, a man's voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. "Master, what happened?" Mu Gui, who was guarding outside the door, sensed that something was wrong inside the room. The door moved slightly, as if Mu Gui wanted to push the door open and enter. "You're not allowed to come in." Yu Yan looked at Yeshu who was curled up on the chair. He took a deep breath and quickly said, "Go find His Majesty the Emperor. Tell him that the imperial consort suddenly fainted when we met at the same building. Ask him to come as soon as possible." Mu Gui hesitated for a moment and replied, "As the young master commands." The voices outside the door disappeared. Yu Yan heaved a sigh of relief and walked over to help Yeshu. "What are you doing?" "Don't be nervous, I'll help you to the bed for a while." The scent of an omega's pheromones inside the room was getting stronger and stronger, and even Yu Yan was a little breathless. He looked away and said in a low voice, "Jin Wang will be here soon. Hold on a little longer." "Yeshu." "All right." Yu Yan helped Yeshu to the bedside. As soon as Yeshu touched the bed, he immediately curled up his limbs. An indescribable heat rose from his body, causing him to break out in layers of sweat. Soon, he felt as if he had been fished out of water, and even his eyelashes became wet. Yeshu pressed his head against the soft bed and gritted his teeth. He had never realized this changes in his body before. Even the last time when he had his heat in the forest, his body didn't feel as bad as it did now. At that time, he only felt that his body felt unbearable and he wanted someone to help him. But today, he understood even more clearly what he needed. He wanted Jin Wang. Yeshu's body trembled slightly, and he finally couldn't help but cry, "Jin Wang!" At the imperial study. After sending away the great Yan's envoy, Jin Wang closed the documents on the table, and Gao Jin presented a wooden box. Jin Wang paused and tilted his head to look at it. "It's all here." "Yes, Your Majesty." Gao Jin said, "These are the secret letters that were found in Minister Ye's residence. Please check them, Your Majesty." Jin Wang opened the lid and took out the secret letters. He had already read these letters carefully before. Otherwise, he wouldn't have confirmed that person's guilt. but Jin Wang was still very patient. He read one letter after another, very carefully. Not only were these secret letters from the enemy, but they also contained plans and deployments that had not yet been sent out. Jin Wang paused for a long time on the letters written by Yeshu. Gao Jin stood to the side, not understanding the other party's intentions. Not only had His Majesty read these letters before, but the Ministry of Justice had also studied them many times over 2 months ago. What else was there to check on them? The imperial study was silent for a while until Jin Wang put down the letters. Gao Jin asked, "Is there anything that Your Majesty was looking for?" "Nothing." Jin Wang put the letters back unhurriedly and said leisurely, "The plans in these letters are detailed and clear. There are no clues in the handwriting. The evidence is conclusive." Gao Jin was confused. "Then what are you?" "I just want to confirm something." He tilted his head to look at Gao Jin and asked calmly, "If it were you, under what circumstances would you keep the secret letters from the enemy so intact?" Gao Jin was so frightened that he knelt on the ground. This servant wouldn't dare. "What are you nervous about? Get up." Jin Wang said, "Speak freely. This emperor permits you to be blunt." Gao Jin stood up in fear and trepidation, thinking carefully for a moment. This servant is bold, but this servant also knows that when doing things, one must destroy the evidence. This servant really can't think of why Minister Ye would do this. Yes, why would he do this? Jin Wang put the last letter back into the wooden box and gently closed it. When these letters came out, they listed almost all the evidence of him colluding with the enemy. It can be said that they are seamless. No matter whose hands this evidence falls into, it is enough to sentence him to death. If it was someone else, it might make sense. But back then, when I was still constantly with him, he was still able to secretly communicate with the great Yan Prince for several years. Why would he be so careless when conspiring with West Xia? There is only one explanation. Jin Wang gazed at the horizon and didn't continue speaking. He used to think this person was fickle. That this person had changed step by step over the past 3 years, so he didn't think it was strange that they would end up like this. But recently, he realized that Yeshu hadn't changed at all. 2 months ago, he wasn't sure, but now he was positive that Yeshu wouldn't want to kill him. Let's return to the palace. After a moment, Jin Wang stood up. I will ask him personally. The negotiations with the Prince of Great Yan had ended, and the envoy would leave the capital in 2 days. He wanted to tell his little imperial consort the truth and ask him what had happened in the past 3 years. Jin Wang left the imperial study. At this moment, a eunuch was hurrying over. Your Majesty, someone from the Tong courtyard has come to report that the imperial consort has fainted in the Tong courtyard. Time passed bit by bit, as if the waiting had dragged on for an extremely long time. Yeshu's consciousness was hazy and the heat in his body was getting stronger and stronger, almost swallowing all of his rationality. Yu Yan anxiously paced back and forth outside the room. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the door, followed by a guard's announcement, His Majesty has arrived. Yu Yan's eyes lit up and he quickly walked to the door. He was about to open the door, but then he had a second thought. He forcefully pushed the door back, which had just opened a small gap, and firmly closed it again. Jin Wang, who was about to open the door. This was the first time the emperor had a door closed firmly to his face, and he immediately became angry. His voice was extremely cold. Open the door. Yu Yan's voice came from behind the door. Your Majesty, please dismiss your attendants and come in alone. Jin Wang gritted his teeth. Yu Yan. Yu Yan insisted. Your Majesty, please dismiss your attendants. Jin Wang closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and ordered, all of you, leave. The attendants behind him retreated one after another. Jin Wang said, I am the only one outside the door. Quickly open the door. Ashu, is he? The door suddenly opened, and a strong smell of green plum wafted out. Jin Wang's breathing suddenly stopped. Yan pulled him in and closed the door once again. The smell of incense could no longer be smelled in the room, and the strong scent of an omega's pheromone enveloped the entire room. Jin Wang's breathing instantly became heavier and he walked towards the place where the smell was the strongest. He walked around the screen in the inner room and saw the situation inside. Yeshu was lying on the bed, his forelimbs tightly curled up as his entire body trembled. His hair was already completely wet and his clothes were disheveled. The exposed skin of his neck was covered in a layer of ambiguous red. Jin Wang narrowed his eyes and turned to look at Yan. Yan immediately said, "I didn't touch him." "I can see that." Jin Wang's face was as calm as water as he strode forward. Yeshu seemed to have sensed a familiar aura, and his body moved uncontrollably. His wet eyelashes trembled slightly, and he opened his eyes with difficulty. However, he couldn't see anything clearly. In his blurry vision, he could only vaguely see a familiar silhouette walking towards him. Yeshu instinctively reached out his hand, and in the next second, he was pulled into a familiar embrace. Ugh! Yeshu couldn't help but moan as his sensitive ear was suddenly touched by someone, and the unbearable pain and itchiness mixed together. After a long kiss, the alpha's pheromone slowly entered his body and the burning sensation in his body gradually subsided. Jin Wang pushed Yeshu's hair aside and kissed him soothingly at the corners of his red eyes. "Are you feeling better?" Jin Wang. Yeshu's consciousness cleared up a little, and his voice was low and hoarse. When he opened his mouth, he sounded like he was about to cry as he asked aggrievedly, "What took you so long?" Jin Wang coldly said, "Who told you to run around randomly?" Jin Wang was still in a state of shock. Only the heavens knew how worried he was when he heard that Yeshu had fainted. Aside from the child in his womb, and if something happened to him, Jin Wang didn't dare to think about it anymore. He looked up at Yan, who was standing behind the screen, and coldly asked, "What's going on? Can Second Prince explain?" As an alpha, Jin Wang could naturally tell that the person in front of him was also an omega. Otherwise, with the strong scent of an omega's pheromones inside the room, this person would have lost all reason long ago. Yan looked at the two people in the room and hesitated for a moment, but he still truthfully told them about the incense. "I really didn't know that Yeshu was pregnant, and he didn't tell me in advance. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't have lit the incense in the room." Yan was still explaining while Jin Wang listened as he took off his outer robe and wrapped it tightly around the person in his arms, then carried him in his arms. Jin Wang didn't pay any more attention to Yan and strode out of the room with the person in his arms. The door slammed shut in front of his eyes, and Yan angrily said, "Why are you?" His voice paused, and he suddenly frowned. He also seemed to feel a little hot. Muyun Gui's voice came from outside the door, "Master, this subordinate saw His Majesty leave with the imperial consort. Are you all right?" Yan's breath was a little unstable when he spoke, I'm fine. You're not allowed to come in." He quickly walked to the table, lifted the teacup, and took a big gulp of the cold tea. His fingers trembled slightly. "It can't be." Jin Wang carried Yeshu back to the bedroom. In just a moment, Yeshu's body had become boiling hot again. Jin Wang put him on the bed and was about to get up, but the latter immediately wrapped his arms and legs around him. Yeshu grabbed Jin Wang's sleeves tightly, and his voice was full of grievances, "Don't go." "I'm not going, don't." Jin Wang's breathing stopped, and he said sternly, "Yeshu, where are you touching? Get your hands off. I don't feel good." Yeshu could no longer hear what Jin Wang was saying, and a certain desire in his body gradually took over. He followed his instincts and leaned towards the person beside him, wishing that he could get closer, just a little closer. Jin Wang tried his best to hold him down, and he almost lost his mind under the influence of the enticing pheromones of the Omega. "Ashu, don't be like this." He comforted him gently, "There's something wrong with you. I've already summoned the imperial physician." When the imperial physician comes, we'll. What are we waiting for? Yeshu was not satisfied, and he angrily shouted at him, "It's because of this pup in my stomach, right? Do you believe that I wouldn't want him?" Jin Wang was stunned. Yeshu looked as if he had been greatly wronged, and his tears kept falling. "You're the one who caused me to be like this, and you're still ignoring me. Dog Emperor." Jin Wang found his voice after a while, and he hurriedly pulled Yeshu into his arms. "You. When did you find out?" Yeshu only cared about cursing, and did not answer. After a while, the imperial physician arrived. Jin Wang pulled the quilt over, put down the gauze curtain and tightly covered Yeshu. He then stretched out a hand to let the imperial physician take his pulse. Yeshu could not lie down quietly and he moved restlessly. Imperial physician Feng quickly finished taking his pulse and Jin Wang told him about the pheromone-suppressing incense. Young master's situation is indeed caused by the incense. Imperial physician Feng said, "An Omega's needs are extremely great after they became pregnant and they need their alpha to calm them down. If their pheromones is suppressed by the incense, not only will it be uncontrollable but it will also cause the effects to multiply greatly. Young master has previously taken the pheromone-suppressing pill and it has already damaged his body, causing his pheromones to go out of control. Today, he accidentally came into contact with this incense, I'm afraid." Imperial physician Feng's tone was slow and unhurried, and Jin Wang impatiently interrupted him, "What will happen? Omegas originally do not have heat periods during pregnancy, but now that the pheromones were abnormally activated and cannot be suppressed. If this continues, it may cause the Omega to be forced to enter a heat period." Jin Wang lowered his head and the person in his arms frowned. The sweet scent seemed to have substance and it clamored by Jin Wang's side, waiting for the alpha to pacify it. It was indeed similar to heat as described in the books. Yeshu could not take any heat suppressant and once he entered his heat period, there was no other way to resolve it other than to have an intercourse with an alpha. Jin Wang felt as if his rationality was about to be burned away. He took a deep breath and tried his best to speak calmly, "But he is not even 3 months pregnant, can I touch him now?" Jin Wang's question was very straightforward, and Imperial physician Feng coughed lightly and explained, "This official has just diagnosed and treated him. The fetus in young master's womb is basically stable, but it is appropriate to have intercourse." Jin Wang's eyes slightly darkened. However, he was not anxious and carefully asked the imperial physician about the things he should pay attention to, from beginning to end, no matter how big or small. Imperial physician Feng answered one by one, and in the end, he was asked until his face turned red and only then was he allowed to leave. The eunuchs had already retreated from the bedchamber, and only Jin Wang and Yeshu were left in the large hall. Jin Wang lifted the quilt and leaned over. "Do you remember everything the imperial physician said just now?" Jin Wang looked at the person in his arms, and his voice was shockingly hoarse. Yeshu's eyes were filled with tears, and it was unknown whether it was nervousness or anticipation, but his entire body trembled. I don't know. Idiot." Jin Wang sighed, and gently peeled off Yeshu's messy clothes. "I will remember." Jin Wang said, "I will teach you." End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 38. Jin Wang unhurriedly peeled off Yeshu's clothes. His porcelain-like skin was tinged with a thin layer of red. He trembled slightly in the cold air and tensed up nervously. "Relax," Jin Wang said softly. The imperial physician had said that one could not be impatient when dealing with a pregnant Omega. Their movements had to be gentle, slow, and gradual. In the past, Jin Wang would never have imagined that he would have such patience. He lowered his head and planted a kiss on Yeshu's cheek. Then the side of his face, the bridge of his nose, and his lips. Jin Wang kissed him carefully. His eyes darkened slightly as he stared deeply at the person beneath him. His gentle and meticulous movements had now become slow torture. Yeshu's brain was dazed from the heat of passion. His hands anxiously pulled at Jin Wang's clothes. But his hands were so weak that he could barely exert any strength. Jin Wang. Yeshu called out hoarsely. His voice was helpless and aggrieved. Jin Wang. You're really. Jin Wang sighed helplessly. His slender hands covered Yeshu's body. An Omega's heat comes quickly and fiercely. The two of them had been holding back for too long. Now that they could release their passion, it was unstoppable. When Yeshu woke up again, it was already dusk the next day. As he gradually regained consciousness, he moved his fingers. His fingertips were still numb and he could not exert any strength. Yeshu's entire body was sore and felt weak. He let out an unbearable groan. Someone immediately covered him from behind. You're awake. That voice was hoarse, low and deep. It made one's ears go limp and their hearts flutter. That was if one ignored the powerful weapon pressing against Yeshu's back. Was this person on drugs? Yeshu felt his hair stand on end. He pushed away the hand on his waist. Just as he was about to move in, he was forcefully pulled back. Jin Wang wrapped his arms around Yeshu's waist and pulled him into his embrace. Where are you going? Let go. Yeshu's voice was so hoarse that he jumped in fright. Jin Wang buried his head in the back of his neck and chuckled. You're always like this. Once you're awake, you turn against me. Little bastard. Who was the bastard here? Yeshu's eyes were dry and sore. One could imagine how many times he had cried over the past day and night. Dog Emperor. Yeshu pursed his lips and buried his head in the pillow. He didn't want to talk to him. Jin Wang did not care about his coldness. His warm body came close to him. I asked someone to cook porridge. Do you want to drink some first? Yeshu nodded gloomily. The latter kissed him on the cheek and got up to help him scoop the porridge. Yeshu turned over on the dragon bed. There was still a strange feeling on his back. His waist was so sore that he couldn't straighten it. But other than that, he didn't feel uncomfortable. Jin Wang treated him very gently this time. It was as if he was a completely different person from their first time. Yeshu's first experience was so bad that he was still brooding over it. Jin Wang quickly returned. He helped Yeshu sit up, placed a pillow behind his back, and fed him porridge. Yeshu enjoyed being served by His Majesty with a clear conscience. Soon, a bowl of porridge went down his stomach. Jin Wang put down the bowl and took a silk handkerchief to help him wipe his mouth. Yeshu didn't remember much about the events of the past day and night, but he seemed to remember. Did he say something wrong? Jin Wang. Jin Wang looked up at him. No, nothing. Yeshu felt inexplicably guilty. He turned over and lay down. Jin Wang looked at the young man curled up into a ball on the bed. He smiled and shook his head. He lay down next to him and pulled him into his arms. His palm slid down Yeshu's arm and naturally landed on his lower abdomen. Yeshu only had a thin inner garment on. The warmth of his palm was clear and familiar. Yeshu's body seemed to recall the feeling of being touched intimately by this person. He trembled slightly, and a numbing sensation ran down his spine. He still hadn't completely recovered from his heat period, so he couldn't stand this person getting so close to him. However, Jin Wang didn't do anything else. Instead, he asked softly, "Did you already knew about it half a month ago?" Yeshu's eyes flickered. He instantly understood what he was asking. Jin Wang asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" Yeshu didn't answer. "You're angry with me, aren't you?" Jin Wang gently stroked the soft flesh under his palm. His voice was extremely soft. "You've been at odds with me these past few days because of this, right?" Yeshu pursed his lips. He still didn't answer. Jin Wang said seriously, "I'm sorry." Yeshu was stunned. He never thought that he would hear these words from Jin Wang's mouth. "I'm very sorry for lying to you." Jin Wang buried his head in Yeshu's neck. He said softly, I shouldn't have acted on my own. I shouldn't have kept it from you. I shouldn't have colluded with the imperial physicians to lie to you. These past few days, I didn't know how to tell you. Some lies are easy to say but much more difficult to take back. I was just afraid that you would leave again. Jin Wang's voice was somewhat muffled. After thinking about it carefully, he realized that Jin Wang had indeed lied to him around the time that he had escaped. This person, he was really worried that he would disappear in a fit of anger again. Yeshu's throat felt sour. He said stiffly, don't think that I'll forgive you just because you say a few soft words. It's not that easy. It's okay if you don't forgive me. Jin Wang said, like I said before, once you know the truth, you can do whatever you want to me. I won't have any complaints. Jin Wang tightened his arms and hugged Yeshu tightly. He asked in a low voice, but before that, can you tell me what you plan to do now? To keep the baby or not? Yeshu hadn't actually thought it through. When he first found out the truth, he really didn't want to have the child. That was why he had lied to the imperial physicians to get the abortion medicine. Later, in order to wait for Jin Wang to come clean, he didn't take the medicine. But he never thought about what he would do after Jin Wang came clean and apologized. Did he really not want to have this child? Yeshu lowered his head and gently touched his lower abdomen. There was a little life inside here. Jin Wang's hand came up again and covered the back of Yeshu's hand. Yeshu suddenly sobered up and pulled his hand away. I still need to think about it for a few more days. Jin Wang's hand froze. Yeshu said seriously, let's keep it for now. We'll see how he and you perform. Jin Wang couldn't help but laugh softly. Yeshu frowned, what's so funny? Nothing, it's not funny. He held onto Yeshu's shoulder and turned him around. He leaned forward and kissed the corner of Yeshu's lips. He looked deeply into Yeshu's eyes, all right, I'll work hard with our baby and perform well. Yeshu had never been able to resist Jin Wang's serious expression. He turned his head and changed the topic, Your Majesty, don't you need to take care of some matters today? If he remembered correctly, this person had been fooling around with him since yesterday afternoon. He hadn't even left his bedroom. I've had taken a leave, Jin Wang said, for 3 days. Yeshu. Jin Wang kissed Yeshu's cheek affectionately, do you think that the heat period will end in 1 day? Jin Wang's words seemed to be some kind of omen. Yeshu's body quickly began to feel a familiar heat. Yeshu's ears quietly turned red. Just as he was about to step back, Jin Wang hooked his waist and gently pulled him into his embrace. The Omega's pheromones once again filled the room. Yeshu quickly lost all ability to resist. He was pressed back onto the bed by Jin Wang and kissed gently. Before his consciousness was completely swept away by the tide of passion, there was only one thought left in his mind. This damned period, this damned Omega physique. He wanted an abortion. Immediately, right now. End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 39. Jin Wang used the excuse that he was unwell to take 3 days off from attending court. For 3 days and 3 nights, ever since Jin Wang had brought him back from the Tong courtyard, Yeshu hadn't had a good meal, let alone a good night's sleep. The dragon bed, the table, the dragon chair, the bathtub, any place that Yeshu had thought of, or not, had left him with unbearable memories. How could there be such an inhumane setting? It simply didn't leave him a way out. After the last time, Yeshu's white fingers clung tightly to the smooth and wet edge of the bathtub, exhausted. Jin Wang pushed his wet hair to the side and leaned forward to kiss him on the cheek. The intimate and hot kisses fell on his face, following the contours of his face down to his slender neck. Don't. Yeshu's voice was low and hoarse. He didn't even have the strength to push him away. He gently shrunk back, don't mess with me, I can't take it. Jin Wang pulled him over, his arms naturally circling around the other's waist. Didn't you insist on taking me in just now? Why can't you do it now? Don't say any more. Yeshu couldn't bear to look at him in the eye. That innate biological instinct wasn't something that could be controlled by humans. When the tide of emotions surged up, all sense of morality and shame was thrown to the back of his mind, leaving only the passionate and dangerous desire in his heart. He was like a wild beast that had broken free from its cage, returning to his most primitive nature in the midst of that extreme pleasure. As for Yu Jinwang, this person was simply dirty to the extreme. He clearly knew that he couldn't resist this feeling, yet he still liked to tease him. He loved to induce him to say things that were embarrassing to say, and if he didn't say it, he wouldn't give it to him. Unfortunately, Yeshu couldn't endure it at that time and fell for it time and time again. In these 3 days, Yeshu had uttered everything that should be said and shouldn't be said. He didn't want to live anymore. He didn't understand how such a bastard could exist in this world. That bastard was still trying to take advantage of Yeshu. His slender and powerful hands were like those of an excellent musician who knew how to play the most beautiful music. Yeshu could clearly feel the hands gradually moving down. He pleaded weakly, "Your Majesty, please let me go. I really can't." "Wrong, change the way you address me," Jinwang whispered in his ear. "Think again, how you should call out to me just now." Yeshu couldn't say anything. He was forced into a corner and bit Jinwang's shoulder. "Hiss!" Jinwang cried out in pain, but he did not avoid it. Instead, he gently stroked the back of Yeshu's neck with his finger. "You still dare to call me a dog? I see that you're just a puppy, yet you only know how to bite." Yeshu was so embarrassed that his ears turned red and he bit down even harder. After all, His Majesty was not a true beast. As long as Yeshu was no longer aroused, he did not touch him again. Jinwang helped Yeshu clean his body, then soaked in the bathtub for an hour before carrying him out of the water. The floor beside the bathtub was slippery. Jinwang did not dare to let Yeshu get out of the tub. He first dressed him and placed him safely on a small couch beside the bathtub. Then, he turned around to get his own clothes. Yeshu leaned on the couch and watched him get dressed. Jinwang was tall and slender with broad shoulders. Because he practiced martial arts all year round, his compact but powerful muscles exuded a sense of strength. They were well proportioned and pleasing to the eye. The only flaw was that his shoulders and back were now covered in bright red marks. They were a shocking sight on his fair skin. Noticing his gaze, Jinwang smiled and looked over. "What are you looking at? Weren't you the one who put them there?" Yeshu suddenly looked away. Jinwang put on a bathrobe and walked to Yeshu's side. He bent down and said, "I shouldn't call you a puppy but a little wildcat." Yeshu tilted his head, not daring to look at him. His neck was red. Jinwang chuckled and picked up Yeshu. "Let's go home, little wildcat." Jinwang carried Yeshu back to the bedroom. There was already food on the table. In these 3 days, Jinwang had sent away all the servants in Yangzin Palace Hall. Other than when someone came to deliver food during mealtime, the entire Yangzin Palace Hall, and even the Yongshao Palace, was completely silent. Even the patrolling guards and shadow guards on duty did not dare to approach. Jinwang wanted to carry Yeshu back to the bed, but Yeshu refused and insisted on eating by himself. It had already been 3 days, but his feet had not even touched the ground. Jinwang and Yeshu looked at each other. Jinwang then sighed and put him down. As soon as Yeshu stepped on the ground, his legs went soft. Jinwang, who was already prepared, caught him in his arms. Jinwang gave him a look that said, "Who asked you to be so brave?" Yeshu moved his sore calves and pointed to the dining table as if nothing had happened. "Help me over there." Jinwang obediently did as he was told. Ever since Yeshu said that things would depend on his performance, Jinwang treated him especially well. Even as the emperor, he personally served him meals, dressed, bathed and groomed him. He even helped him relieve his lust at any time, regardless of day or night. Even a concubine might not be as useful as him. Yeshu looked at Jin Wang, who was putting food in his bowl, and thought to himself. The two of them had not left the bedroom. They only had a soft bathrobe draped over their bodies. His Majesty had always taken care of himself meticulously, but this was not the case today. His hair was slightly damp and he casually tied it with a hair tie. A few strands of hair hung in front of his forehead, giving him a languid temperament that was rarely seen in the past. A droplet of water slid down his slender neck and disappeared into his dark collar. His collar was loose, and his collarbone, which was covered with red marks, was faintly visible. Yeshu's throat went dry. He felt that this appearance was even worse than not wearing anything at all. The porridge in his bowl was no longer as enticing. Jin Wang paused in the middle of putting food in his bowl. He put down his chopsticks and said, "Yeshu." Yeshu guiltily looked away as if nothing had happened. "What's wrong? You really are." Jin Wang helplessly rubbed his forehead. He tried his best to ignore the scent in the air. "Eat properly, and then go to sleep." He paused, then added, "If you continue to look at me like that, you'll be the one who can't take it anymore." Yeshu understood what he meant. His cheeks burned, and he didn't dare to let his imagination run wild. Tomorrow afternoon, the great Yan's envoys will leave the capital. Jin Wang suddenly said. Yeshu was a little absent-minded. He first made an O sound, but after a while, he realized, weren't they supposed to leave yesterday? To be precise, they were supposed to leave the day before yesterday. Jin Wang put a piece of vegetable in Yeshu's bowl. His voice was calm as he said, "I heard that the great Yan's second prince suddenly fell ill, which delayed the envoy's journey." "Yu Yan fell ill?" Yeshu was shocked. Seeing Jin Wang's eyebrows slightly raise, he immediately changed his words. "That's really nice." Jin Wang. He was still as timid as ever. Yeshu's sudden heat was all because of Yu Yan's pheromone-suppressing incense. But in his opinion, Yu Yan was innocent because he didn't know, so he didn't blame him. But Jin Wang was so petty, so he most likely wouldn't be so magnanimous. Speaking of which, Yu Yan was full of energy the day they met, but he fell ill the moment he returned. Could it be that this person did something? Yeshu glanced at Jin Wang and suddenly felt a little worried. Jin Wang didn't even need to ask to know what he was thinking. "I didn't do anything." Yeshu narrowed his eyes. He didn't really believe him. Jin Wang patiently explained, "Yu Yan is an omega, and an omega that has never been marked." "Yeshu, I know." Jin Wang asked, "Then do you know what would happen if an omega goes into heat in the presence of another omega?" Yeshu was slightly startled. He hadn't read about this in the books. But Yeshu was very intelligent, and he quickly understood what Jin Wang meant. "You're saying that he was be affected by me?" Jin Wang nodded. "Yes." That day, when Jin Wang rushed to the Tong courtyard, the incense in the room had already lost its effect. Jin Wang could tell at a glance that Yu Yan was an unmarked omega. He was inexperienced, and in the past, he had relied on the incense to suppress his instincts. After being exposed to such a high concentration of an omega's pheromones for so long, it was normal for him to also went into heat. Yeshu put down his bowl and chopsticks and was about to get up. Jin Wang hurriedly stopped him. "Where are you going?" "I'm going to see him." Yeshu said, "If he went into heat, he will definitely be discovered by the diplomatic mission. Then he won't be able to hide his identity, and the throne." Yeshu coughed lightly. "Then he won't be able to pass on any information to His Majesty." "Don't worry." Jin Wang pushed Yeshu back to his seat. "There are spies in the diplomatic mission. According to the information I received, the second prince's identity hasn't been exposed." "How could that be?" "Tomorrow, I will be seeing the diplomatic mission off. You will naturally know then." Jin Wang said, Let's eat. Yeshu made an O sound and reluctantly calmed himself down. After lunch, Jin Wang still couldn't resist teasing him. He pressed him down on the bed and gently tidied him up. What could he do? The little vixen refused to sleep and just looked at him aggrievedly. If it were any other man, they wouldn't be able to endure it, too. In the afternoon, Yeshu was satisfied enough. He buried his face in the pillow and drowsily fell asleep. After Jin Wang helped him clean up, he lowered his head to kiss him. However, Yeshu dodged in a daze. Don't mess around. Jin Wang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When you want it, you want to snuggle into my embrace. When you're done, you won't even let me touch you. Jin Wang pulled Yeshu over and ruffled his hair. Without any heat, he pinched Yeshu's face. Little bastard, what do you take me for? Yeshu muttered softly and buried his head in Jin Wang's embrace. He quickly fell asleep. The next day, Yeshu's heat had completely ended and he insisted on seeing the diplomatic mission to send them off. Jin Wang's dissuasion was to no avail. He could only take Yeshu to the city gates. When Yeshu was helped down from the carriage by Jin Wang, Yu Yan was also helped down from the diplomatic mission's carriage. The two of them looked at each other across the crowd and the carriages. They saw something very similar in each other's eyes. Yeshu. Yu Yan. This showed that the emperor valued the great Yan very much. Chang Lu sent a large group of people to send them off. Jin Wang led the officials to the front and exchanged a few pleasantries with the great Yan's envoy. The two monarchs stood at the back of the crowd. The atmosphere was strangely silent. Yeshu couldn't help but ask, over the past few days, you cough cough cough. Yu Yan suddenly tilted his head and coughed violently. I cough cough. I just caught a cold. Cough cough cough. Thank you for your concern, Imperial Consort. Yeshu. He didn't seem to be pretending at all. Suddenly, a fox fur coat was draped over Yu Yan's shoulders. The two of them turned around at the same time. The personal guard in black said with concern, Master, be careful not to catch a cold. Yu Yan's body stiffened for a moment. He stopped coughing and frowned. Didn't I ask you to stand guard at the front? What are you doing here? Go, go, go. Mu Yungui's eyes flashed with a trace of gloominess. He said in a low voice, yes, and turned to leave. Yeshu looked at him suspiciously. Yu Yan's ears inexplicably turned red. He cleared his throat and gestured for his subordinate to present a brocade box. My gratitude to the Imperial Consort, for taking care of me during this trip to the capital. This humble one spent a lot of effort to find this gift. This one hoped that the Imperial Consort and His Majesty will accept it. The brocade box was exquisitely made. It wasn't small and had to be held up with both hands. Yeshu shook it a little. It was quite heavy. Yeshu asked, what is this? The Imperial Consort will know when you return. Yu Yan smiled and solemnly patted the brocade box. Remember to open it together with His Majesty. End chapter.